Hello guys, today I would like to tell you a bit more about visit time using GTM and volume and a solution which will allow us to actually measure the time which our visitor spent on our certain website. So when we are already capturing a visit on each new page of our e-commerce blog or whatsoever, we can also measure how much time our visitors spent on them in some simple intervals. Not to make this video too long because it will be a bit complicated case, I have already created a custom conversion called visit time with the parameter VT in volume. So this would be necessary to provide it in our ET parameter. And now I'm going back to my Google Tag Manager. What I need to do, those are some simple steps. First, I need to set up a new trigger, which would be timer trigger. I already have one created in here. So trigger type is a timer. It is available here in other triggers. I need to provide its event name. I have just called it timer. Now, I need to provide an interval whenever the timer should be triggered, and it needs to be provided in milliseconds. There is a hint about it. So if I wish it to be triggered each 10 seconds, it should be 10,000 in here. If I wish it to be triggered each 1 second, it would be 1,000. So I wish to use the 10,000 milliseconds, which is actually 10 seconds, and I can choose a limit, maximum number of times to fire the event. I can leave it as 0 or unprovided, then it will be triggered always for each 10 seconds. I have decided to limit it to be fired only 3 times per each page. So I'm counting 3 intervals of 10, 20 and 30 seconds spent on the page. Whatever happens then is not any of my business. And I also set up uh, this to be triggered whenever the page URL contains my main domain. So that's it. And now I would like to show you how it actually works from the technical side and what kind of information this timer trigger provides to us whenever the visit happens, and how we can capture those informations from the data layers. Because the timer trigger sends some special certain informations to the data layer whenever this trigger happens. As you can see, 10 seconds already passed. So there is a timer event. This is how I named it. And you can see in the data layer that there is event timer fired and that it provides us with some unique informations. From our point of view, the most useful ones are the timer event number, which means how many times it happened. This is my limit. As you can see here, it's fired second time, here it fired third time, etc, etc, and we can see the time interval. So now we can easily capture those informations and create a variable that would save those informations from a data layer, as I showed you in the previous videos. So as you can see, I already have two variables with the type of data layer variable, and it is here. So you can see data layer variable timer event number and timer interval. As you can see, the event number contains GTM timer event number. So as this shows us, GTM is the first step, and now timer event number is the second. And I have a second data layer variable, which is timer interval, which captures the interval. Also, I have another time spent variable, which is a custom JavaScript, and I would like to explain to you why. I could easily, having those informations, fire a postback for each of those events using those data layer variables. So I could, for example, provide those values under param1 and param2 parameters. But if I do it like this, my report in volume would contain param1, for example, timer limit, which would be 3, and param2 timer interval, which would be 10,000. Why this is not so useful in my opinion? Because in my statistics, it would look like this. We would have time spent conversion name, 1, 10,000 for the first 10 seconds, then we would have time spent second interval 10,000 and time spent third time a charm 10,000. This doesn't look very well. I would prefer to have my conversions recorded in a manner when I can see time spent and number of seconds. So for example, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, etc. This is exactly why I need to create another variable which is called the time spent, which would measure my actual time. This is actually a real simple function where I'm using my created data layer variables. How does it work? There is the function that returns me a value of my data layer timer interval number divided by 1000. So if the time spent is 10,000 seconds, the result of this is 10. So I can see 10 multiplied by event number. So if it happens for the first time, I would get the result of 10. Whenever it happens for the second time, I would get the result of 20. And when it happens for the third time, I will get a result of 30. Whatever would be captured from the data layer will be returned here as an actual value. So when I have this time spent value, I can create my tag to fire a postback. So here I have postback timer, and as you can see, it contains the CID is my, it's not this one, it's this one, visit time postback. So the CID contains the first party cookie value with our click ID recorded. Event type is VT, which I have prepared in volume. The transaction ID provides me with a random number, so it's not treated as a duplicate. And then under param1, I have this variable of time spent measured in seconds. So now I would like to show you how it is displayed in GTM. So for the first timer, I have fired a trigger where param1 equals result of my variable space seconds. For the second timer, it is 20 seconds, and for the third time, it is 30 seconds. And I can see exactly the same values in volume. So when I get back to my granular reports of my campaign and sort my conversions by click ID, I can expand them, and as you can see, the visit time equals 10, 20, 30 seconds. And here, the same 10, 20, 30 seconds. So it looks much better than having visit time 1, 10,000, 1, 10,000, 2, 10,000, 3, 10,000. I don't know what does it mean. 20, 30, 10 seconds. It's totally understandable for me. and it's even easier to then visualize this data if I wish to do so. So this is why having this additional visit time variable is so important, just to our data be more friendly for us. So I have event number, which is 1, 2, or 3, interval, which is 10, 20, 30,000 seconds, 30,000 milliseconds, and the time spent. So now, if I decide to change my trigger and my timer trigger would be not fired every 10 seconds, but every 5 seconds, I'm basing on dynamic values. So if I change anything in here because I decide that 30 seconds is too much for me, I only need to see whoever spends at least 5, 10, and 15 seconds on my website. When I save it and when I reload my preview, you would see that those values would be still dynamically provided and would be actually correct. So I'm creating another visit. My page loads, GTM loads. So let's wait for the trigger. All right, timer. Now you can see in data layer event number is 1 and time interval is 5000. And my tags fired contains 5 seconds. And the second one is 10 seconds. And the third one is 15 seconds. So if I get back to volume and reload my statistics, it should be already visible in here within just a few seconds. There is another click ID, and when I expand it, you can see it is accordingly 5, 10, and 15 seconds. So it's a dynamical solution, and whenever we decide to change the trigger, everything is already predefined correctly to just capture the data and show it to us in an understandable manner. So that's all for today. Thanks. Bye bye.